Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar with Sam Sokolov with Americorp. It's really great to see everybody today. I know I see some familiar faces in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm Robert Nelson. I'm the program manager for Pivotal New Mexico. We are hosting this as part of our Cooperative Network. So we are doing this for free today, as we know, like some of these really great grant opportunities there in our community from local folks like Sam. So we try to do this as much as we can and try to get people access to a variety of different funding opportunities locally as much as possible. I mentioned the Cooperative Network. If you are a Cooperative Network member, feel free to say so in the chat. Just introduce yourself, your name, your organization, your pronouns, what brings you here today, and I hope everyone's staying warm too. I know it's a little blustery outside, and I hope our folks without power, I hope they're doing okay too. So. What else was I going to say? I can't remember. There's another thing. There's another event. Some other events that we're also looking at hosting here in the next few weeks. We haven't set dates for, but one is that we are also going to be dissecting parts of the American Rescue Act, which is going to be very important for folks. I just got a list of the various communities, cities and municipalities and counties that are getting a variety of different funding from the Rescue Act. So stay tuned for more information on when we're going to host that webinar. We're also planning a webinar with Quan Alma Health Foundation. I know that their funding cycle opened up last Monday, so I know folks have some questions or have had some questions about that. Keep an eye out for when we're going to host that event. So without further ado, I'm so grateful that Sam, that you're here today. It's so good to see you as well. It's been a while since we've seen each other. So I'm really glad you're here today, and I will pass it to you and mute myself. And if folks have, again, just if you want to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so. Name, organization, pronouns, and what brings you here today. Sam, welcome, and welcome back. And
thanks. Robert, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for doing this. And Robert, thanks again for the invitation to talk about Americorp. This is not great. I apologize if we run into any technical glitches. I've got kids running around. I got dogs, all that usual background noise. So I apologize if we run into those kind of distractions. Before I get into my thing, if I could just open it up from folks that are participating, I'd love to hear what you would think, or rather how you would describe Americorp. So I'm going to open it up. I would love to just hear from people about how you would quickly define what Americorp is. So anybody.
I'll go first. I have been in the nonprofit space for 20 years, and I have never used Americorp volunteers. And so we at Ghost Ranch up in Rio Arriba County are really trying to spread our wings. And we have a strong group of volunteers, but we've never really organized them or done any work around putting some structure and form to that. So I'm just learning, excited to learn if there's some sort of an intersection there that we can make the Americorp program work for us at Ghost Ranch.
Excellent, Jill. Thank you so much. Terrific. I'm hoping that we can accomplish that in part today. Anybody else? And I would just ask if you could introduce yourself and tell us who you're with. So anybody jump in, please.
Hi, I'll jump in. My name's Danielle. I'm with the Downtown Growers Market in Albuquerque. I actually was an Americorp Vista volunteer about 5 years ago. I worked on a farm based in Esther, Alaska, right outside of Fairbanks.
Oh, cool.
So understanding that I have, I guess, is it's a federally funded program that works to connect volunteers with nonprofits to help assist in a variety of, I guess, topics. And I mean, often it's to kind of assist with low-income access and things like that, putting programs in place to help assist with food or health or infrastructure, that kind of thing. When I did it, it was a 3-year program that the farm applied for. So there were 3 different vistas each year that worked on one project to try to make it a lasting piece in the community. But from what I understand, there's like shorter projects as well that just do summer stuff. But it's been a while since I've been in it. So yeah, but interested in seeing if it's an option for our market as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Sorry. This is Hannah Hausman with Santa Fe Children's Museum. And I actually, in my earlier career, had 5 Americorps members in South Florida when I worked in Miami. And, you know, it was a great opportunity also to advance the next generation of, you know, our workforce. And we ended up teaching them a lot too, which was amazing. You know, these are students coming from, I think at the time, FIU, and a lot of them had never been in, you know, an underrepresented area of Miami, but they're like 20 minutes away from it. So I was really happy to be able to learn from them, but I think they learned a lot from us. We were, at the time, it was Hands On Miami, which is a volunteer organization. So that was my experience, but it was great. So that's why I'm here today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Couple other comments?
Hello, my name is Khadijah Bottom from Albuquerque. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Vision Sankofa. My focus is pretty much on the African immigrants and refugees, helping them acclimate to our culture and society. I would just also like to say that it's been a pretty minute, but I too was Americorp Vista 2 times running.
Fantastic. Thank you for your service. So nice to connect with you. And maybe one other person.
If I could jump in really quick, I'm Stephanie with the Americorp program over at Families and Youth in Las Cruces. And I kind of just wanted to share, because I love hearing all the Americorp stuff, is part of the program, I think, is teaching our young people just some job skills, giving that the Americorp members that are with us, I try to make sure that we're giving them those skills to feel confident when they go into the job place, maybe introducing them to people in the field that they're interested in, and doing it through volunteer work, I think helps take the pressure off. So they're not, you know, they're just in that, they start to surround themselves with the like-minded people. So yeah, there's a lot of good things to the Americorp program other than the wonderful volunteer work that we do as well.
Stephanie, thank you. And just a plug for your YouTube channel. Yeah. FYI's got a great, if you want to see Americorp members in service, Stephanie's members have a phenomenal YouTube channel. You can just go to Families Youth Incorporated.
Actually, if you just go to, it's we do Americorp for You is the tagline. So if you just type that into your YouTube search, and it's, yeah, it'll bring it up to you. I'll try to put it in the chat while we're discussing. Perfect. So you guys can look that up. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for weighing in on this. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give an overview of how we work, and apologies at the beginning, in addition to just the usual noise issues and technical issues. Americorp, for the uninitiated, can get pretty text heavy pretty quickly. We get into acronyms, as Stephanie can attest. We get into our own sort of language. So if it gets too dense, I'll try to back off and kind of focus on the major points. But Americorp does get a little tricky with the language. So again, Sam Sockliffe, I'm the director of the Serve New Mexico Commission. We are under the auspices of the Department of Workforce Solutions. And as a result of that, I do need to give a quick disclaimer, which is that due to state procurement rules, no technical assistance may be offered to applicants regarding the currently open request for applications. All communication regarding the currently open RFA must be sent to the procurement manager, David Roybal, and David's information is right there. All this is on the website. So we're doing this presentation at the time when we do have an open application, as a number of you are already well aware. Okay, with that disclaimer out of the way. So a little bit about our mission. The Commission's mission is to engage citizens of New Mexico of all ages and backgrounds in community-based service. Such service will address New Mexico's human, educational, environmental, public safety, health, housing, and other needs to achieve direct and beneficial results. The birth of the national service movement goes back to the administration of President Kennedy. I think everyone is familiar with his famous quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country at the time of the president's inauguration." That gave birth to the vision of community service. What can we do in a more formalized, organized way with federal funding? So flash forward to the early 90s, Americorps as an official entity was created in 1993 through the signing of the National Community Service Trust Act. This created the nation's largest grant maker supporting national service. You can see then President Clinton signing the bill into law. How we work. So Americorps is the federal agency connecting individuals and organizations through service and volunteering to tackle the nation's most pressing challenges. Americorps state programs are administered by 52 state service commissions across the United States and its territories. These commissions are charged with awarding Americorps grants to local organizations to help meet these critical needs. Some of you may have heard of the CNCS, the Corporation for National and Community Service. At the beginning of 2021, this officially transitioned from CNCS to Americorps. So Americorps is the blanket term for everything under what was formerly CNCS. We are Americorps. All the streams of service are considered Americorps, which we'll talk about. And again, our commission is not unique. There's 52 commissions doing exactly the same thing. So in short, Americorps connects individuals and organizations to help communities tackle their toughest challenges. Americorps sends people, power, and funding to communities across the country. Examples include disaster response, addressing the opioid crisis, providing education assistance. These are just a few of the causes where Americorps members have stepped up to strengthen their community. The vision is Americorps works to make service to others an indispensable part of the American experience. Through our nation's most trying times, Americorps has come together to help those in need. Members, for former members or alums, you'll remember the Americorps Pledge. Every year we have a ceremony in which new members all are administered the same oath. They pledge they will get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier. They pledge they'll bring Americans together to strengthen our communities. Faced with apathy, members will take action. Faced with conflict, they will seek common ground. Faced with adversity, they will persevere. Members pledge that they will carry this commitment with them this year and beyond. I am an Americorps member and I will get things done. That's the motto of Americorps. I get things done. So this is how we came to be under the auspices of the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. So the commission was founded in the 90s. We were kind of shuffled around and through administrations. We were originally with CYFD. And then in 2013, there was a decision that Americorps would transition to the Department of Workforce Solutions. So the rationale, I think everyone would understand, is because Americorps programs focus on volunteerism and job training. Through these experiences, Americorps members are provided opportunities to gain new skills and experiences working in their communities, supporting veteran services, elderly services, environmental projects, which we'll talk about, and youth development programs. So it was seen that Americorps is an excellent pathway to employment. You do your term or your terms of service, and you've got unique skills that translate nicely to the workforce. So I think the alums on this training would agree that's very much the case. So the Department of Workforce Solutions recognized that and wanted to be part of that. And I've been with the commission now for 5 years. Our commission consists of 22 commissioners, all appointed by the governor. Matt Montoya, who's a banker in town, is our commission chair. Commissioners represent different sectors: business, government, nonprofit sector, volunteer sector, and tribal representatives as well. We also underwent a JEDI, a Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion process earlier this year. So the commission now strives to represent all of the people and cultures of New Mexico. In our work in grant making, we prioritize principles of justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. We are seeking dynamic partners who are committed to addressing the changing needs of our communities. If you're interested in looking at our JEDI plan, it is posted on our website. We are also every 3 years required by federal statute to come with a state service plan in which we say, this is what we're going to do. This is what our priorities are going to be. We're coming to the close of our most recent 3-year plan. That's on our website as well, but this outlines measurable objectives that the Commission will commit to over 3 years to achieve our strategic goals. I can tell you we've met a bunch of them, and a bunch of them we haven't met. So my Commission and I will be taking a hard look at that over the next year to sort of readjust where we are and what we want to be for the people of New Mexico. Small staff, me and myself, and 2 program officers, Logan Rice and Brad Nipper. Okay, so this is where things get a little complicated. Many of you may have heard of all of the different streams of service. So we've got 3 pieces or 4 pieces that we're going to talk about. Number 1 is NCCC. Number 2 is Vista. Number 3 is Senior Corps. And then lastly, Americorp State National. That's us. That's my commission. That's where we focus on the 4th element. So what we do as a commission is we engage in strategic grant making to support organizations that see service as a solution to local and national challenges and create powerful member experiences that result in lifelong civic engagement. Vista is the oldest arm of national service, Volunteers in Service to America, founded back in the 60s. Vista was designed specifically to fight poverty. Vistas, as some of you know, as based on your own service, perform indirect service, which means that they help build the capacity of organizations to deliver valuable direct service to people living in poverty. So Vistas typically create new programs, they write grants, and recruit volunteers. For example, a Vista could establish a tutoring program, recruit and train volunteers, and raise money for the program, but would not directly tutor the children. So this is, again, indirect. The requirements for Vista, and we'll talk about this in a little more detail, are far less rigorous than what my commission requires. So for a lot of organizations that want to have sort of a first taste of national service, Vista is a great route to go. We can talk a little bit about that process. Secondly, Americorps seniors. For decades, volunteers age 55 and above have been serving their communities through Americorps senior programs. Each year, Americorps seniors engage more than 200,000 older adults in volunteer service through foster grandparents, senior companion, and RSV programs, enriching the lives of volunteers and benefiting their communities. New Mexico has one of the largest cohorts of senior corps members in the country. So some phenomenal service taking place throughout our state. And we can talk again about how that process works. Americorps NCCC, these are full-time service members that go really around the country, and they perform very specific sort of mission-based service. So this is for Opportunity Youth, age 18 to 25. They serve on a team and make an impact in communities across the country while gaining valuable leadership skills. My wife is an NCCC alum. She's a nurse practitioner. She totally attributes her experience with NCCC as being her pathway to employment. So we are the boots on the ground guys. Our commission only funds direct service programs. Altogether, all streams of service, this is our contribution to the state of New Mexico. 714 Americorps sites, 4,501 Senior Corps and Americorps members, $21.3 million of Americorps funding coming to our state through all these streams of service, and then 25.2 million Americorps scholarships. And we're going to talk about that. The education awards have been earned since 1994. So you can see the impact of national service in New Mexico is very impressive. As I said, my commission oversees the boots on the ground Americorps state and national programs. If you're interested in Vista, if you're interested in Senior Corps, that's handled by our Mountain Region office, which was created about a year and a half ago. That's based in Aurora, Colorado. They oversee these programs, Vista and Senior Corps, in Arizona, Idaho, Montana, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. After this presentation, if you're interested in Americorps, all you need to do is get in touch with me, and I can make an introduction for you to our friends with the Mountain Region if you're interested in exploring Senior Corps programs or Vista programs, and I'm happy to do that. So what's an example? Let's give an overview of how we work, or rather what we fund. So our programs, when it comes to direct service, we're looking for programs, or rather we're funding programs that tutor children in reading as literacy coaches. We provide relief services to communities affected by disaster or health information to vulnerable populations through boots on the ground service opportunities. Our members engage in community cleanup projects or neighborhood watch programs. Our members support after-school programming. That's just a quick taste of what some of the direct service opportunities look like. All in all, about $3 million plus of federal funds comes through my commission for allocation annually to organizations and agencies that are eligible to run Americorp programs. We'll talk about eligibility in a second. So we're pretty large fund allocating entity in New Mexico, which I don't think is particularly well known. We're not a foundation, but we do function as sort of a foundation in the sense that we are making allocations and we are then responsible for monitoring and ensuring that those funds are going to do exactly what they're intended to do. So the majority of my time and my staff's time is spent getting the applications going and then monitoring the programs that have existent Americorp programs, and then going and developing new programs throughout the state, in addition to working with our commissioners. So just the three of us, but a lot of money does come through our auspices. The grant award amounts, they range dramatically. So we've got a $35,000 grant for a planning grant, which we'll talk about, up to $600,000 plus for established Americorp programs. It depends entirely on the program design. It's dependent entirely on what you want your Americorp members to do. What's the range of service activities? Where will they be serving? What will they be doing? And how many members are you adequately able to recruit, retain, and train? Our grants are intended to provide funding to high-quality programs that are developed by an applicant who designs a set of activities that demonstrate an evidence-based or evidence-informed approach to creating community impact and solving community problems by engaging individuals in service as Americorp members. That's the heart of our work. You've got a problem, tell us what the problem is, tell us how you intend to solve that problem by deploying X number of Americorp members who will be doing what kind of service for whom? What's the target audience? What's the constituency they'll be serving in? And what are the intended outcomes? And what's the evidence that you can present to us to prove that this is going to be an effective intervention? Our grants include an allotment of Americorp member positions and funds that are directly tied to a specific number of members. Our grants are solely for program expenses and are not for general organizational expenses, completely restricted funding. You're not going to be able to buy equipment for your general organization with our funding. It provides partial funding to support Americorp projects and programs. Recipients must contribute a cash or in-kind match, which we'll talk about, funding to support the project. But that's very, very flexible. We don't want that to be sort of a deal breaker for anybody that's interested and able to operate an Americorp state and national program. You can apply for an Americorp grant. Public, private, or faith-based nonprofit organizations, as well as local or state agencies, are eligible to apply for Americorp state and national funding directly with us, with the commission. And as a program, you are called a sub-grantee because we are the immediate grantee. The federal funding comes to my commission, and then we allocate it out to sub-grantees. But at the end of the day, we're responsible for the funding, for that $3 million that comes through. That's my commission that's on the hook for that for those dollars. Let's talk a little bit about the focus areas. So when we are doing our grant making every year, we're looking at number one, education. We are looking for programs that support students in public, private, and charter schools. We're looking for programs that will deploy Americorp members to improve attendance and engagement, increase high school graduation rates, and expand college enrollment.
Unless I work through Kari, but I think she's got her own Americorp people. You see?
Number two, if everyone could be muted, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sheesh.
No problem. Number two, economic opportunity. Our programs serve as a pathway to employment opportunities and help develop vital work skills. Members provide financial literacy training and connect people to jobs. Healthy Futures. Americorp programs build the capacity of food banks, combat the opioid crisis, tackle homelessness, and address food insecurity. That's Lauren Reichert, who operated an Americorp program that addressed opioid substance abuse disorders in Rio Arriba County, a recovery corps program. Veterans and military families. Americorps connects veterans and their families to education opportunities, jobs, and the benefits they have earned. Many veterans across the country choose Americorps to continue to serve their country. Environmental stewardship. Americorps members serve on projects that cover thousands of acres of public lands, including many with the National Park Service. These members help conserve natural habitats, protect clean air and water, and build miles of public trails. We've got 2 new focus areas this year. Number one, I don't think it's going to be surprising to anybody, efforts to help local communities recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Applicants may propose programming in any CNCS focus area to aid communities as they recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And number 2, programs that actively engage in removing structural racial inequities, advance racial equality, and increase opportunity in order to achieve sustainable change in communities. So the RFA that we have opened right now does include these new focus areas as funding opportunities. The responsibilities and expectations of a grantee. If you get money from us, you are responsible for designing or replicating a successful intervention to address a community need. You are responsible for tracking and reporting performance measures that capture program outputs and outcomes. And you're responsible for contributing match funding to support the project. So there's a lot, as Stephanie, you can attest to this, there's a lot of moving pieces within Americorps grant. One of the things that we do, and I'm going to take a moment just to say this, one of the things that we often impress upon those that are interested in Americorps state and national program is that if you are looking at a successful model someplace else, chances are it can be replicable here to New Mexico. If you see something that works in another state, we're happy to spend time with you and see how it would fit into New Mexico. Chances are, if it's got the contours of a successful program, you've got all the design elements, you can tailor it for New Mexico. And we take a certain amount of comfort knowing that that model succeeds in other parts of the country as an Americorps model or Americorps program. And here's a big piece of it. Americorps program responsibilities to members. When you get an allocation of funding from us, you are responsible for recruiting your members. You are responsible for interviewing your members. You are responsible for selecting and training and supervising your members. There's a lot involved. And again, Stephanie, not to pick on you, but you know this better than anybody. There's so much involved with having to do all of this. This is an enormous undertaking when it comes to onboarding and training and deploying your members. Let's take a quick look at what's happening in New Mexico in our current funded portfolio. Number one, we've got NACA Inspired School Network, which is an education-focused program. NACA Inspired School Network builds a movement of students, families, and educators to create excellent schools relevant to communities they serve. These members, which are serving in indigenous communities, deliver enriched education experiences that build on community-defined needs and strengths for indigenous students in New Mexico. This program has been with us now for, I believe, about 5 years. Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, which is our oldest and largest subgrantee by far, with 180 members. So Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, Americorps members, these crews partner with public land management agencies, local municipalities, state departments, and others to revitalize communities, preserve and restore the environment, prepare young people for responsible, positive lives, and build civic spirit through service. This is a rare example of a program that sort of came of age with Americorps. So early in the founding of Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, we were established as a commission. Their founder or co-founder, Carl Colonius, looked at Americorps back in the early 90s as being something that would be the natural partner for building his then nascent organization. So Rocky Mountain Youth Corps has come into maturity along with Americorps, and they're doing just phenomenal service and have been for over 20 years. Roadrunner Food Bank. This is our Seed Corps program, which we've had now for 4 years. Seed Corps members actively provide nutrition education to address the health benefits of eating fresh fruits and vegetables to maintain an active life. They provide information to people struggling with poverty and hunger to understand where and how to access public benefits. And they increase awareness of existing local resources beyond food assistance needs. Seed Corps through through Roadrunner Food Bank is now serving in every county of the state. So we were able to provide them with some expansion funding at the end of 2020, which got Seed Corps members in food pantries where they've never been before. Really phenomenal service, especially during this pandemic. Great program model. And I would encourage people that don't know about Roadrunner Food Bank's work with Americorp to learn some more. And I'm happy to make introductions for you with their staff. Mandy's Farm, which operates here in Albuquerque or Bernalillo County, which is an economic opportunity program. The VAMOS program allows Mandy's Farm to assist service recipients in navigating government benefits, support families in their roles as full-time caregivers, provide opportunities for adults with developmental disabilities to participate in career exploration and training to allow them to obtain skills needed in order for success in the workplace. Last year, the Mandy's Farms VAMOS program, that's what it's called, the VAMOS program, was honored by the National Americorp office as Outstanding Program of the Year. So they have done a phenomenal job in building off of what was then a planning grant and then becoming a full operational program, which serves hundreds of recipients. And we're very proud of what they've been able to do. Teach America, which is our only professional core program. So Americorp members are full-time teachers in low-income Native communities across Northwest and Central New Mexico. Teach America operates across the country. They've been doing phenomenal service in our state for 2 decades. They are focused largely in McKinley County, and they are just wonderful, wonderful members. Eco Servants in Lincoln Otero County. This is another environmental stewardship program. These members serve to help improve, restore, or sustainably create trails, remove noxious weeds, improve parks, provide forest monitoring, and participate in White Mountain search and rescue. So they've got a big imprint in Lincoln County when it comes to economic development, where there's not a lot of job opportunities for younger people. So if you're a young person in Lincoln County, you've got a good opportunity through Eco Servants. You can come and serve 1 term or 2 terms. You can receive a education award, which we're going to talk about, or a living stipend and a living stipend, and get some good resume building skills down through your service. So they are extremely important in Lincoln County. Families and Youth Inc., represented by Stephanie on this training. The mission is to increase academic success among children and youth placed at risk through a universal approach, providing tutoring, mentoring, and other social services. Members provide in-school support and safe after-school programs in high-priority schools in the Las Cruces Public School District. Again, during the time of the pandemic, they've been just redoubling their service and doing things ordinarily that they would not do. So we're very proud and very grateful of everything that the FYI members have been doing in Las Cruces. Boys and Girls Club of Central New Mexico, which came to us this year. Members with Boys and Girls Club of Central New Mexico build good decision-making and resistance skills in youth and teens in Albuquerque. These Americorp members are responsible for improved resistance skills, increased academic success, and school attendance for youth and teens. As I said earlier, this is an example of a program where the director, Colby Wilson, who was coming from Kansas, came 2 years ago, and he came to us and said, hey guys, I've run Americorp programs. I know how they work. I want to bring this to New Mexico. He had a solid model, brought it to us, and was operational within the year. And they're doing just phenomenal stuff, especially during, again, COVID-19, when members are not able to be always in the classroom. So doing distance remote assistance with students has been absolutely critical. Entry project, which is really interesting. This is in Taos. So this is what's called a pathway model program. It's a consortium of partners that believe that increased outreach and coordinated pathway navigation are necessary in Taos County. So in short, what members with Dream Tree do is they are placed in nonprofit organizations throughout Taos County, and they're responsible for connecting community members with the services provided by these organizations. So they're doing needs assessments, they're providing education, they're making these meaningful connections between organizations and individuals, tracking people, finding out what they need over a period of time, and then reporting back to the Dream Tree Project. So a great program, excited to see where they go. And speaking frankly, I'd love to see more pathway navigation programs like this in the future. Why would you become an Americorp member? So these are some of the benefits. Number one, as I said earlier, you receive a challenging and enriching career experience. Number two, you are encouraged along your own professional development path. You are given a healthy network of professionals and mentors during your service. And you're also exposed to a culture of diversity, inclusion, and civic engagement that will inspire you for years to come, right? These are the sort of the high level benefits of being a member. There's a lot of opportunity or a lot of variety in the kind of term that you can sign up for. It ranges from a full-time term, 1,700 hours over a year, excuse me, all the way down to minimum time, which is 300 hours, again, over a course of a year. So lots of flexibility in what you are able to do as a member. And you are provided with a living allowance. So a stipend is the living allowance that a member receives during a term of service. Every year, there's the amount of the living allowance is published by the federal government. It is not a wage. Americorps members do not receive a salary. It is an hourly stipend, or it's not calculated, sorry, on an hourly basis. It is a stipend in support of your service, and only full-time members are required to receive a living allowance, although the majority of members serving across all of our portfolio do indeed receive a living allowance. But again, it's not a salary, it's not calculated as a salary, it's not administered as a salary. And that can create some problems or complications from organizations that are new to the Americorps family. Here you can see the range. So full-time members can receive up to $30,000 a year for their service. And it goes all the way down to an abbreviated time slot in which you can make $17,000 in your stipend. So again, lots of variety, all based on the service that you're performing. And Americorps members who successfully complete a term of service are eligible for their education award from the National Service Trust. This is called the Eli Siegel Americorps Education Award, named for the first CEO of Americorps. These awards can be transferred to the members' children, stepchildren, foster children, grandchildren, or stepchildren. But so many of our members have benefited from this education award. When we do our member interviewing every year, so many of them are staying in college because of this education award. And again, the award amount ranges on the basis of the time commitment that you're making as a service member, but it can be a healthy amount up to $6,345. That changes every year. And again, it makes a lot of difference. My favorite subject, prohibited activities, things you cannot do as an Americorps member, which is a big part of the training. When you take on Americorps members, you're responsible for making sure that they understand they can't attempt to influence legislation, they can't organize or engage in protests on service time, or be involved in petitions, boycotts, strikes, and assisting, promoting, and deterring union organizing, impairing existing contracts or services or collective bargaining agreements, engaging in partisan political activities. I'm not going to read the rest of these, but what this means again is on service time. That means you can't do these things while you've got your Americorps A, your logo on your uniform. As a private citizen, you are of course able to do any of these things, but this is a big part. When it comes to the monitoring of programs, we have to ensure that members stay within the confines of what they are meant to do as members. Let's talk a little bit about the application process. Our funding year is a program year. That's September 1st to August 31st. That's what you're funded for when it comes to an Americorps state or national grant. We run 2 RFAs, 2 requests for applications a year. So we are charged with administering 2 pools of federal funding. Number 1 is the formula pool, and number 2 is the competitive pool. Let's talk about competitive. So the competitive funding is awarded by the national office to successful applicants of its nationwide competitive process, which we administer locally through our grant application process. This is how this works. You send us an application. We then vet it through our peer review process. Our commission board then approves it or doesn't approve it for funding. And then it goes on to the national office to be reviewed against hundreds of, if not thousands of applications that are coming in throughout the country. So this is generally a very highly selective process for established Americorps programs that have 3+ years of successful operation. If you are a new program, a new operational program, you're not going to want to apply for competitive. It's the essential, it's basically the equivalent of tenure. It's a 3-year funding period. You've got to really prove that you know what you're doing. The other option, though, is formula funding. And it's called formula because the amount of funding that we have to allocate is based on our population size. So that changes every single year. We're considered a small commission based on our population. So that funding then comes to us, and it's entirely within our discretion as a commission to decide who gets to have an Americorp program after a very robust peer review process and commission review process. This is open to everybody, all eligible applicants that we just discussed, as the funding availability allows. This is where we get the majority of our applications every year. These are the elements of an Americorp application. So we've got the executive summary, which we'll talk about in a second, the program design, which includes theory of change, logic model, evidence base, notice priority, member experience, organizational capability rather. You've got to prove that you've got the administrative strength to run one of our programs. Then you've got to present a budget and then offer performance measures as well. So these are the 5 elements that go into an application. It's broken down like this: generally program design, 50 points, organizational capability, 25 points, and then cost effectiveness and budget review, 25 points. 80 points is considered generally for us a responsive application. If you make it to the 80-point threshold, you are then considered to be responsive, i.e. eligible for funding consideration. All right, I'm not going to get too deep into this. This is where the Americorp verbiage kicks in. But MSY's member service year. If you are interested in Americorp, I highly recommend you start getting used to the language of MSYs. That's the language used to calculate the cost to the corporation or the commission of your Americorp program. So applicants for us, you may request no less than 10 member slots or 5 MSYs. All the definition stuff, I can provide that for you if you're interested. But that's the building block of an Americorp program, your member service year. Executive summary, this is key for an effective application. We want to know what you're doing with your members. We want to know what focus area, based on the ones that I just went through, you're going to be concentrating on. We want to know what amount of money you're going to be able to match and how large your budget is going to be to recruit X number of members to do what. These are the core requirements that go into any application. If you struggle with the executive summary, then generally you're going to run into trouble with presenting the full application. This should be ironclad. You should know exactly X number of members, performing what kind of service and what focus area, and what your stake is going to be in the game, what you're going to be able to put up towards the funding that you're requesting. The theory of change, for nonprofit folks, nothing new here. We also want to know that you're able to describe the target population served and the roles of Americorp members or leverage volunteers. We want to know what the proposed outcome is going to look like. We want your narrative to be able to tell us exactly what members are going to be doing to contribute significant and unique contributions to existing efforts already performed by your agency. And we want to be sure that the applicant's intervention, i.e. your Americorp program, is going to lead to the outcomes identified in your theory of change. Need, intervention, intended outcome. That's what it comes to. I think everyone's familiar with what the theory of change asks for. Performance measures, a big thing again in the world of Americorp. All applicants are required to submit at least one aligned performance measure to track your primary service activity. We offer a range of those when you look at your application, when you look at the application, the performance measures are posted and you can pick one. Evidence, we want to know that you're going to be providing evidence that your Americorp program is going to work. You're going to describe how you're going to meet the requirements of your tier. We don't have to talk about that, but you've identified as pre-preliminary, preliminary, moderate, or strong. So, and do you have the research to back up what the problem is that you've identified and how this intervention, i.e. Americorp members, are going to help solve that community problem, or at least address that community problem. Member experience, we want to know that you are going to be providing your Americorp members with a great experience where they're going to get skills, where they're going to feel good about the service they're performing, and that they will be in an inclusive service culture where different backgrounds, talents, and capabilities are welcomed and leveraged for learning and effective service delivery. And we're going to want to know your organizational background and staffing. Do you have the administrative strength to be able to run an Americorp program, which has so many moving pieces? If you're not a new nonprofit organization, Americorp State and National is not for you. You've got to be at a certain level of maturity to be able to do this. But again, that's where an organization, or rather a stream of service like Vista, can be helpful to you. if you don't have the growth or the maturity organizationally to be able to handle one of our grants. Match requirement starts at 24% cash or in kind, lots of flexibility around that, and it moves up through the maturity of your Americorp program up to 50% and beyond by year 10. We run two ways. When we give you our money, it's generally a cost reimbursement. You give us a periodic expense report every month. We then reimburse you for those funds. And we also have fixed amount grants, but we don't provide both types of grants for the same project in one fiscal year. We also offer a planning grant opportunity. If you're an organization that has a good idea and you're at a level of maturity where you think within a year you could be operational if you spend a year assessing the program design and working with your own staff on developing what this model could look like, we can award $35,000 for you to hire a consultant to be able to design that program for you. My staff and I work extensively with programs throughout the year on the design. They don't always become operational programs, but that's certainly our preference. And then the budget, that's a big piece of the application as well. You've got to turn in a solid budget with little errors and costs that make sense. So we're also using an indirect cost rate, all the stuff that comes with a federal grant. All of that stuff comes into play here. So what does it take to become a successful Americorp program? You programs that focus on measurable outcomes, programs that leverage private and public resources successfully, programs that focus on service as a solution and instill that ethic of service to members and volunteers, and programs that demonstrate capacity, commitment, and administrative leadership. Pitfalls where it goes wrong for a lot of our programs, not a lot, but some of our programs, mission drift, they take on too much. Failure to adhere to regulations. Like I said, we've got a lot of moving parts in one of our grants. So there's lots to pay attention to, a lot of reading. And if you don't pay attention to those regulations, there can be disallowances and issues. Lack of significant commitment on part of the organization. You take this on and then realize, you know what, this is a lot of work. I don't want to do it. We've had that problem too. Duplication and supplantation, meaning that you just looking members as cheap staff, that you can't afford the staff you want. Americorp makes a lot of sense for me. I can get these guys on the cheap. That's a bad recipe. That never works out. And not understanding that members are not the main beneficiaries. Your main beneficiary is, of course, the community in which you are serving. That's the beneficiary of the service. Members receive an extraordinary opportunity, all the benefits that we described, but the recipient, the one that benefits the most is the community being served. Okay, so the application is posted right now for our current RFA, which I really can't talk too much about. Our application process looks like this. We go through peer review. We then go through responsive and non-responsive applicants. Most non-responsive applicants fail to answer most of the items requested. We also look at those that are exemplary, 80 points and above, and those go to my commission board for final approval. Application dates, these are all posted on the website as well. So once you get money, what happens? Then all the real fun begins. The promotion of the program, recruitment of members, recruitment of host sites and supervisors, training and orientation. Generally, when it comes to our grant making, we let programs know who's getting what by late spring. And then July and August is spent refining their recruitment strategy, getting the information out to the community, and then launching September 1st. In between RFAs, and I've given a lot of information here, sorry, it's a deluge of stuff from our end, but we can always talk with applicants or potential applicants when an application is not open. All you need to do is make sure that we don't have an application open, and then my team and I can really work with you on helping you figure out if Americorps is a fit. If it's not my commission, then it could be Senior Corps, it could be Vista, NCCC, or one of the other streams of service that we talked about. What I generally ask for is I'd like an email where you tell me about your agency, where you tell me about the problem or issue your community is facing, a little description about how you envision Americorps members performing that service, and then an explanation of how Americorps members wouldn't be duplicating or supplanting current staff positions, and then who you would be doing this with, who your partners would be, where the sites would be, And that's a good starting point for us to have a longer conversation about Americorps. I'll end on an up note, looking in the near future. So Robert mentioned earlier, you're going to have a session coming up on the rescue plan. Americorps is a really significant beneficiary of the rescue plan. $1 billion has been allocated in additional funding to Americorps to expand national service programming into new communities, stabilizing existing programs, increasing the living allowance, making national service more accessible and inclusive, and growing the number of Americorps and Americorps senior positions. We're doing analysis right now to figure out how this is really going to impact our commission. It's only good news. It means that we're going to be able to offer more Americorps resources, more program opportunities, and more funding opportunities across the board to communities that have never had Americorps. So it's an exciting time to be doing this kind of work. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Sorry, it went a little longer than expected. Robert, I'll turn it over to you if you want to moderate from here.
Oh, we still got like 10 minutes. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it. Just want to also lift up any questions that we see in the chat too. So the question I'm seeing just right now that popped up at 1:48 from Flo over in Farmington is the application for Vista Cadre the same application for Americorps?
No, it isn't. Great question. The answer is it isn't. It's a concept paper, and then it starts with a concept paper, and then you are or not invited to submit a full application. Again, if anybody's interested in Vista opportunities, all you need to do is shoot me an email, and I guess I should put that in the chat, and then I can make those connections for you.
Cool. Thanks, Sam. Next question is the planning grant separate from the current application cycle?
No, it's actually part of the current application cycle. Great question.
Awesome. Let me just make sure I have all the questions in the chat too. Let's see. Do I understand correct? This is from Olga. Olga says, did I understand correctly that one has to apply for a minimum of 5 volunteers?
Yeah, so for us, that's the case. For an Americorps state or national program, with our current RFA, we're asking for a minimum, actually it's 10 members. And I'm not going to get too deep into the difference. Stephanie, you're nodding your head because you know this stuff all too well. The difference between MSYs and member slots. What we're looking at is at the minimum 10 members. It's not worth it to do it with any less than 10 members. So that's the starting point. But again, we've got programs that have 12 members and we've got programs that have 180 members. It all depends on your program design.
Awesome. Thank you. That's it for the questions in the chat so far. I will invite folks, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, you're welcome to do so.
Can you please put your contact slide back up, Sam?
Yeah, sorry. And I don't know if I can do that. I put my email right there, samuel.sokolov. It's in the chat.
Oh,
I don't see it, Sam.
Oh, I'm sorry. I sent it as a direct message to Michelle. Sorry. Let me try this again. I'm learning this. What is this called? Zoom. Learning this thing. Sorry, I'm putting this up right now.
And Sam, I know I said this earlier, but would you be willing to share your slides with me and I can share it with the attendees?
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
Cool. Jill, I saw you raise your hand. What is your question?
Yeah, so Sam, at the top of the call, you mentioned something about an Americorps office that was based in Aurora, Colorado. I'm actually in Denver, which is kind of ironic. And is that the office that handles the Vista volunteers?
Yeah, you got it, Jill. So that's the Mountain Region office. So they oversee Vista and Senior Corps. And again, if you're interested in those streams of service, shoot me an email. I'll make an introduction for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Anyone else with any questions? You can I can't see everyone's raised hands, but if you raise your hand in Zoom, there is a little reactions button, or in your chat, if you're on iPad or iPhone, you can use that to raise your hand. If not, you're welcome to unmute. We will definitely, and just let us know your name and your organization too. That's helpful.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I took myself off video. Put myself back on. I work for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I'm just curious. We've, to my knowledge, never used Americorps before, but I'm very familiar with. I work a lot with Teach for America, and I guess, sorry for my ignorance, but I'm just wondering. I don't really understand how you know if there's enough Americorps volunteers that are for one area, because it said something about like the agency would interview them once if they received the app. Like if you submitted an application, it sounds like then we would have access to people that we would interview, almost like we were hiring them. I guess I'm just confused on that process of how, because like what if they don't, like I live in Gallup and we cover a huge part of the Navajo Nation reservation. What if you're like Americorp volunteers like, no, I don't want to go there, or I don't know, does that happen?
Yeah, no, so that's a great question. So really that comes into your program design. You obviously, you wouldn't take on, we don't provide you with, my commission, we don't provide you with members. That's not our responsibility. When you're designing a program, you've got in mind, I can recruit Americorps members to help solve this community problems. So, when it comes to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I know of X number of, or not X number, you wouldn't have those kind of quantitative numbers, but you would say, I know that there's, for the opportunity to serve with the population that we serve as an organization, we could recruit opportunity youth, 18 to 25 young people that would serve as Americorps mentors towards the children that are served by Big Brother. I'm not presuming to know too, and I apologize. But we would put it out there. We can recruit from schools. We can recruit from universities. We know that there's a pool of eligible members out there. And this is a profile that they would look like. This is the recruitment process that we would take on. You've got to have that strategy in mind. That's not our responsibility. We don't offer the members, but for example, Boys and Girls Club, they knew that they could recruit from students, at the University of New Mexico. FYI, Stephanie traditionally has a large pool. They're near the New Mexico State. So recruiting from a college population is kind of a mainstay approach to Americorps. Where the pool of young people are, and Americorps is not only for young people, but the majority of our members are under 30 across the portfolio. Look where the colleges are, look where the schools are, the community colleges. Chances are your recruitment can begin right there.
And then just a follow-up, so then that agency or entity would recruit those people. So, I mean, these people are not already Americorps. I would have to find people to then sign up to be Americorps.
You got it, Sarah. Right, exactly.
But they could already live in this area. They don't have
Absolutely. And you would want them to.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. Do you have any other questions?
Can I jump in really? Yeah, I was going to jump in really quick, Sarah, just because I'm only been in the program for 2 years, going on 3. So I'm not an expert at all. And I like participating in these because it just gives me information and knowledge. And that's really just why. But just so and just for everybody, because it is a lot of a program to handle. It's a lot of information. But the commission is really helpful in if you have any questions. For myself, I can get pretty much anything tangible, something in my hand that I can read or download. So those kind of things. But as far as recruiting, that was something that was a challenge, obviously during COVID. But the one thing is you've got these high school kids also, and that's something that I tapped into, was we had high school kids that just weren't needing to be at school because they were getting their stuff done online so quickly. So I did recruit a couple of high schoolers that will be 18 by the time their contract is over. So that's something that kind of gets them. And then I just use the whole, you're getting ready for college, so here's some money to get into school with. So, and then just anybody coming to the university, that's something I've also started to look into. So I tap into Deming, because I'm in Las Cruces, so Deming, Lordsburg, any of the surrounding areas, usually those kids are coming to school here. So I've been kind of looking out to recruiting in that area as far as, so it's not as challenging, but, you just have to be a little creative and look around in your surrounding area of who's coming into your area that you need help with.
That's perfect, Stephanie. Thank you.
Stephanie. There's one more question in the chat from Chris Hollis. If someone is interested in being a senior corps volunteer, how does one look for positions available?
Yeah, Chris, just shoot me an email and I'll direct you to the senior corps people.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. We'll open it up for one last question before we close out today, if anyone wants to unmute. Hearing that, thank you so much, Sam. We really appreciate your insight today. Thank you so much too, Stephanie. I really appreciate it as well. And to everyone on the chat today, or everyone in the audience, we'll definitely share the webinar video with attendees, and Sam will forward me the slides. We'll share that with folks too.
Awesome.
Today.
Yeah, Robert, thank you. If I could just say also, I recognize a bunch of names of people I'd really love to connect with. So one thing you can do, I hate to get too statey on this, but if you shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm not interested in applying for this current RFA, but I'd love to talk to you about my program development. That's all I need to know, that I can have a conversation with you about program design. So we don't have to wait till my RFA closes. Just if you can give me that disclaimer, I'm always happy to have a longer conversation about what your ideas look like. Sorry, Robert, just wanted to throw that out there.
No worries, Sam. I appreciate it. I also just want to ask too, is Americorp still doing in need of grant reviewers? Because that's also a good way to.
Oh man, thank you, Robert. Perfect timing. Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. Shoot me an email if you're interested in being a peer reviewer with a little background. If you could send me a bio as well, we would love to broaden our pool of reviewers. Robert, thank you for bringing that up.
Awesome. Yeah, I've served on a grant panel myself. It's labor, definitely, but it's also a good way to kind of familiarize yourself with the application and the process as well.
For sure, yeah.
Inviting folks for that as much as we can. So anyway, it's 2:00. I want to release everyone into their days, their Wednesdays. Sam, again, big thank you for joining us today. It means a lot. And I hope everyone has a really great rest of your Wednesday. And I hope you're taking care and staying warm, because I know, man, it's cold outside. So everyone have a great day. Take care.
You will, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.